Look around you. Housing prices stretch into the stratosphere, wages limp behind inflation like a wounded animal. The cost of raising a child is enough to shatter the dream of a family. Jobs are precarious, degrading, or gone. You were promised a future. Study hard, work diligently, play by the rules, and you'll get your reward. But that promise has been broken. If you feel rage, despair, or exhaustion, you're not wrong. Those feelings are the natural consequence of living inside a system that siphons value upward, leaving you with scraps. And yet, you're told the problem is you, that you should budget better, work longer, smile more. The cruelty is that the world denies you dignity, then blames you for noticing. So you look to politics. You look to those who stand in front of the cameras making promises of change. But you already know how this story goes. They promise, they fail, they disappear. The cycle continues. Here's why. Politicians aren't failing you because they're weak or lazy or stupid or evil. Politicians are failing you because they were never designed to succeed. Politicians are not where power lives. They are the mask that power wears. Their job is not to command the machine, but to legitimize it. To give you rituals of voting and speeches so that you believe the gears of power can be steered. Politicians are kites tugged by invisible strings, and when a kite drifts too far, the string is cut, and another is sent aloft. So where does power live? Power lives with capitalists, those who own factories, land, corporations, and banks. They decide where investment flows, which industries rise, and which communities die. Power lives with the army, the standing force that ensures obedience within and projects dominance without. Armies have toppled governments, installed regimes, and preserved order by force when persuasion fails. Power lives with intelligence agencies, those who surveil, destabilize, and manipulate behind closed doors. They enforce order not by winning votes, but by managing perception, breaking movements, and undermining dissent. Politicians orbit these powers. They do not control them. This is why every election feels like theater, because it is theater. The mask changes, the machine endures. But you already sense this. It's why politicians' impotence makes you furious. They're asked to fix what they can't even touch. Their power is symbolic. So what happens to your rage? It doesn't vanish. Rage doesn't just vanish. It finds an outlet, often the wrong one. It bends sideways, downward, and onto scapegoats. This is where history provides its grotesque parables. In 18th century Paris, an apprentice printer named Nicolas Contat wrote of a night when resentment boiled over. He and his fellow apprentices lived like prisoners. They suffered long hours, little food, and constant humiliation. Their masters fed the cats better than they fed the boys. They stroked the cats and pampered them and cherished them, while the apprentices were starved and beaten and told to wait their turn. Sound familiar? The cats became unbearable symbols of injustice. So one night the apprentices struck, but not at the masters. They couldn't. To rebel meant ruin, so instead they dragged the cats into a courtyard and staged a trial. The cats were accused of witchcraft, of consorting with the devil, of all manner of things impossible for a cat to do. The boys laughed bitterly, played judge and jury, and condemned them to death. The animals, innocent and unwilling martyrs, were hanged, beaten, slaughtered, killed. For one night, the powerless had power, and for one night they tasted the sweetness of revenge. But when dawn came, nothing had changed. The masters remained, and the system endured. Only the cats were gone, and they were soon replaced. Contat told the story with a dark chuckle, but beneath the humor lies tragedy. The rage of the apprentices was fully justified, but the target was wrong. But this is how collapse feels, not a single dramatic explosion, but as countless misfires. When systems deny people agency, rage doesn't vanish, it warps. It spills onto whatever symbols are closest and lashes downward, not upward. That's what makes the cat massacre important. It is grotesque in miniature, but entire societies repeat the same pattern. In late Rome, mobs targeted foreigners and slaves while senators feasted unbothered. In 17th century France, peasants attacked tax collectors and rival villages while Versailles glittered untouched. And of course, in Nazi Germany, economic despair was channeled into hatred of Jews, communists, homosexuals, and Roma, while industrialists consolidated wealth behind the scenes. The system offers scapegoats precisely because it works. When resentment flows sideways, the masters remain safe. We can see the pattern today. Workers stripped of security are told to blame anything but the system itself. Entire nations are told to fear outsiders, or those different, or even each other, or worst of all, themselves. Social media becomes the courtyard. The scapegoat changes, the rituals modernize, but the dynamic is the same. Fury misdirected into theater. We are the apprentices, our scapegoats are the cats, and our masters remain aloof and untouched. That's why Nicholas Contat's story matters. It's not just trivia, it's a mirror. Your frustration is real, your rage is valid. You're not wrong to feel despair. But the tragedy of the massacre of the cats warns us. Fury without clarity destroys symbols, not systems. The apprentices could not hang their masters, so they hanged the cats. The question is whether we will repeat their mistake, because if we cannot learn to see power clearly, then the masters will always remain, while our rage merely consumes the innocent. So what can be done? What do we do with this knowledge once we've seen through the mask? First, awareness. Simply knowing where power truly resides is a form of resistance. If you can see that politicians are the mask and not the engine, you can't be so easily misdirected. Clarity itself is armor. Second, restraint. When rage boils up, it is very easy to strike sideways or at yourself. This is exactly what the system wants. Every time fury bends downward, the system remains safe. So the act of refusing misdirected violence is not a form of passivity, it is refusal to obey. It is refusal to play a sick game. Third, meaning. Those who feel they have nothing beyond the theater of politics are the easiest to inflame, direct, and control. They are given scapegoats and they obediently devour them. But those who have cultivated meaning through art, through love, friendship, craft, study, all these small dignities of life, well, they are much harder to move like pieces on a board. A life with its own gravity cannot be so easily shifted. And fourth, perspective. If you are watching this, chances are you are not one of the few who operate the levers of capital, the army, or intelligence agencies. You are an ordinary person, but this is not a weakness. This is freedom. It means your task is not to command empires, but to live a life that you have deemed worthwhile, satisfying, and beautiful in spite of the empires. Because collapse does not erase meaning. Systems rise and fall, but human beings still write, paint, make love, sing, laugh, care for children, and bury the dead. To build meaning in your own life is not a retreat from the world, it is a refusal to let the system dictate the terms of your humanity. So yes, right now the world feels like the apprentice's courtyard, and the rage within us demands a sacrifice. But the lesson of the Massacre of the Cats is not just a warning, it is also an invitation. An invitation to see clearly, to refuse cruelty, and to build meaning where you stand. The masters may remain safe, and they will do what they do, they always have and they always will. But you can live a life they cannot touch. One that you yourself have decided is worth living.